All right. It shows that I am live. Right now, I am streaming on Rumble and YouTube simultaneously. I'm just going to double check here to make sure that everything's up and going. Slight delay. All right. Let me know if you guys can hear me pretty good. Looks like we're good on YouTube. Let's see where we're at. Looks like we're going live on Rumble. All right. So, first of all, if you haven't seen my previous video that I just made and uploaded on Monday, you need to go watch it. This is a follow up. What I'm going to be doing moving forward is making 2 videos every single month, back old school videos. It's been a while since I've done that. I'm calling this the new season a bright insight because it's been a while and it's been difficult to get back into it. Making videos isn't the easiest thing in the world, doing all the research and everything, but I'm sitting on a stockpile of amazing topics that I know are going to blow a lot of you away. So I couldn't be more excited about that. So my next video will be the week after next, the last week of June. Like I said, I'll be making 2 videos every single month, and each one of those videos will be followed by a live stream to discuss the topic of that video, answer questions, and address any little issues about the video or things I've learned since or any developments. So it should be a lot of fun. Let me see. Make sure that you guys can hear me. I don't see any complaints. And I'll be keeping an eye out for super chats and questions, but keep in mind I'll be toggling back and forth from Rumble and YouTube. And approximately a half hour in, this will be exclusively on Rumble. However, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, the link is in the description. So I recommend just watching it there. But at the time when I'm going to switch over, I'll let you know, and all you'll have to do is click that link. Obviously, I'm trying to diversify and grow my presence across different platforms. That is the intelligent thing to do. We live in wild times. We've seen other channels suffer greatly, whether it's monetization or getting screwed in the algorithm or getting otherwise deplatformed. And some of the topics I'm going to be discussing, such as climate change and other things, are, as we know, controversial. So, okay, people saying it sounds good. That's good to hear. Let me know what questions you guys have. But if you haven't seen that video, and I'm assuming most of you have, I could not believe what I had uncovered involving the WEF, the World Economics Forum, tentacles infiltrating the management of excavation at Gobekli Tepe. And especially since that was formally announced in 2016, I cannot believe the internet hadn't connected the dots on this, although it was surprisingly difficult to figure out. If you just were to Google who funds Gobekli Tepe, you would have not have found the answer. And a series of small coincidences brought me to that information. And so I felt like you guys could think I'm woo-woo, but maybe I was just meant to find and discuss it because I'm like, this is important. We're talking about the world's oldest megalithic site. And let me just say, I know that Karen Tepe, the neighboring site in Turkey, is dated upwards of 2,000 years older, but we have to keep in mind that Gobekli Tepe itself is dated 11,600 years ago at the time of its burial, which was most likely deliberate. That's debatable. But if you look at photos, and I'll share some in this live stream, it doesn't look natural. The only other alternative hypothesis I've heard is that people say, oh, well, it's on a hill and there was a landslide that covered it. But I'm looking at the elevation. And although Gobekli Tepe isn't at the top of the hill, it doesn't seem feasible at all to suggest that that's how it was covered. But I digress, because that's the least important part of this video. What we're talking about here is, and I'm sure most people watching have been enthusiasts of the topic of lost ancient civilizations for the last several years. Like, remember back in 2015, 2016 through 2017, where those years where this was exploding. Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson go on Joe Rogan, and it's like it just skyrocketed with new enthusiasts of this topic when people are learning about that. Oh my goodness, there is significant evidence that shows that the true history of ancient human civilization is far older and more advanced than what we were taught in school. How old, how advanced, that's the debatable part. But undoubtedly, what we were taught in school and what they're still teaching in school is so incorrect. And so Gobekli Tepe was like this, I don't know, what's the way to put it? This outlier that shows that, oh my goodness, a site that's nearly 7,000 years older than Stonehenge in prehistoric times is simply not supposed to exist because, hey, the birth of civilization is supposed to be out of the Sumerians, out of ancient Mesopotamia. 6,000 years ago, and this is nearly double the age. So, of course, Gobekli Tepe threw an entire wrench into the mainstream narrative, totally upended it, actually. And so I'm thinking back to podcasts I saw with Graham Hancock in 2017 saying, only 5% of this site has been excavated. I remember Rogan and everyone being all enthused, myself included, thinking, oh, wow, I can't wait to see what they dig up with these other pillars that are still under the ground, because those could have answers to our lost past. Because if you looked at the pillars that they had found already, it appeared that they're telling us a story, that there was something that they were trying to communicate with us, especially if you consider the possibility that it may have been purposely buried. It's like, is this a time capsule trying to warn us? And especially when you consider the 11,600 year dating being precisely at the end of the Younger Dryas climate catastrophe of 11,600 years old, in my mind, there's no doubt that the connection is there, that that site was created either before or right after that cataclysm and was purposely buried for possibly to teach us something in the future. That's conjecture. That might not be true. I mean, I'm an open-minded person and I don't pretend to have all the answers, but the reality is this, is that this site is one of the most important ancient sites on Earth. I'm not taking anything away from the Great Pyramid and other places, but the reality is that Gobekli Tepe is that one place it's like, okay, this is something that we need to be studying. So when I learned that that indefinitely there are no plans to fully excavate the site, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, because I hadn't looked into Gobekli Tepe for the last few years. It was, if you go into my YouTube channel, it is the oldest video on there, going back to October of 2017. And at that time, I'm thinking like, okay, it's only 5% excavated. Let's wait for some more information to come to light, and then I'll revisit the topic. You know, let them dig some stuff up, and when there's something significant to share, I'll make another video. So as recently, it just crossed my mind just a week and a half ago, probably, maybe 2 weeks, that I'm like, okay, you know, is there any developments to this 5% figure of excavations? And that's what led me down the rabbit hole of realizing like, oh my goodness, there are bad things happening. And I'm going to share a few things in this video involving the responses from archaeologists and elsewhere, as well as um, the planting of the trees. If you're not following me on X, formerly known as Twitter, stop what you're doing and follow me there. Go hit the follow on there. And if you're not on X, create an account. Since Elon Musk has took it over, everything has changed. You can, before I was shadow banned, I had like 20,000 followers. And then in the last year and a half, I'm at over 100,000. And some of my posts are getting millions of views. That's the place to get information now. You can get it incredibly quickly. So I can't recommend it enough. So let's see here. Let me just double check to make sure that everything's still up and running. Looks like things are good on YouTube. Looks like, oh God, hold on. Time to block some people on Rumble. Hold on a second. Forever. Mute forever. People are funny. So I'll keep an eye out for that. Anyways, show goes on. Let's see where I'm at. Okay. So one of the biggest updates to share with you at this time, which made me think of bringing up X for you to follow, is that I got in contact with an archaeologist that had worked at Gobekli Tepe for a number of years. And if you saw my prior video, I had asked, I'm like, I see these multiple orchards of trees, 4 in fact, orchards of trees that are just surrounding the ruins of Gobekli Tepe. And then I'm like, well, the site covers 22 acres, which, let me quickly correct myself, because in the video I mentioned it covered 90 football/soccer fields. That was inaccurate. That's something I learned off Google, and other people broke down the math, and apparently it would be more like a dozen soccer fields or whatever. It doesn't matter. 22 acres. So I'm like, okay, you see from any aerial view, like, you know, the areas of the enclosures that are being excavated. So it's like, okay, well, that is just a small fraction of 22 acres. But all around it are orchards of trees that are only a number of years old. So I'm like, proposed the question. I'm like, are any of these trees, were they planted on any buried ruins? So an archaeologist on Twitter, I believe he's German, Dr. Dietrich, responded, and he confirmed, yes, those are on top of buried ruins. Okay, so then I start looking. I'm like, when were these planted? I have before and after photos, one of which I shared in my video, but I have one that's even older from because the one I shared in the video is from 2004, and I found one that a photo, an aerial photo that was taken before excavation started, which was in 1995. None of those trees were there. None. In fact, you could count one tree in the whole surrounding area of Gobekli Tepe, and then now there's four tree orchards. So I'm like, I can't believe this. This proves that there's absolutely no plan, at least indefinitely, to fully excavate the site. Now, let me be clear. When I say fully excavate, because I know how archaeologists, I know how they are. I've read the responses from them, and they say virtually no site is 100% excavated. Okay. But we're talking the fact that only 5 to 10% of it has been excavated. So we need to get much closer to 90% excavated rather than 5 to 10%, right? If we can't get to 100 because of damaging things or whatever, fine. But what I want to see excavated are the pillars. Approximately only 72 have been unearthed. That's according to that archaeologist, by the way, that worked the site. He said 72 have been excavated. According to ground penetrating radar, there may be as many as 200 pillars under the ground, which would mean that there's potentially 128 pillars that are yet to be unearthed. And as of right now, there is no plan to excavate them. It's not to say that there aren't, let me be crystal clear here, and I said it in my video. Yes, there are archaeologists working at Gobekli Tepe right now. I am not saying that there are zero excavations taking place. What I am saying is that any meaningful large scale excavation has been postponed for, quote, future generations. Now, something to correct from my prior video, I won't even say correct, but I've looked to see what are the naysayers saying about my video. And one comment that was put on blast was saying that when I showed a headline that says from 2021, future generations, they were actually quoting the wife of the late archaeologist Klaus Schmidt, who started and began the excavations at Gobekli Tepe. What I should have shown, and I'll show the screenshot here, is that it was somebody, a doctor out of Turkey, that's a chairman on the board of the archaeological community there. That's the one that stated it. He said back in July of 2017 or 2018 that they're saving it for future generations, and they anticipate that the full excavation won't be done for, get this, 150 years. 150 years. What? What? Now, archaeologists will say that some sites around the world, excavations are postponed because they want better technology to emerge to properly excavate the site. Let's be clear here. That has not been stated as a reason to postpone excavations at Gobekli Tepe. And any person with any level of common sense understands that, of course, we don't need better technology to dig up those pillars. They did 72 of them already. And we know that as long as you're carefully digging, so I just want to be crystal clear here because I've looked at all the responses, what people are saying, the naysayers about my video. And they're like, well, they need better technology. I'm like, that has never been suggested at Gobekli Tepe. And that is insulting to all of our intelligence, is it not? Let me just double check here to see if I have any pertinent questions or super chats or make sure that there's no trolls. Okay, yeah, we got another one in Rumble. Let me mute you forever. People are funny. So getting back on track here, I can bring up some of these images here, but so I want to be crystal clear. There is no plan, and I went back and forth with these archaeologists. I'm like, can you please share that there's any plan to unearth those trees to start an excavation of them? Nothing, just nothing. So you have to understand that the WEF, the World Economic Forum, is nothing more than a bunch of members. The organization in itself doesn't exist without its hundreds or maybe even more than 1,000 members that have infiltrated, and this is according to Klaus Schwab, by the way, various government cabinets around the world, corporations, educational institutions. And so that's what they are. They're people of high power in various industries and different sectors around the world that are planting their initiatives. Why do you think it all makes sense? Why do you think all these corporations are all dialed in the same way, whether it's all this woke crap? Like, where's all this coming from? You got to look into the WEF. They're the ones behind the Agenda 2030. If you're not familiar with that, that's not a conspiracy. They have it in writing. This isn't a joke. Pay attention. They want to reduce livestock. They're careful on how they say reduce population. I'm not saying that's what they've said, but they have said that for climate change, less humans would be better for the environment. So you should be paying attention to that. They're the ones that want to do 15-minute cities and reduce cars and the use of fossil fuels. They're the ones where the meme comes from, involving that you will. Hold on one second here. What's this thing? They're the ones that saying that you will eat Z-bugs. That's where the meme comes from. But they're the ones that have said that you will own nothing and be happy. Like, guys, these aren't good people. They're doing things in the shadows. Like, if they had some sort of plan that they felt was good for the course of mankind and human civilization as a whole, it would be public discourse and discussion. They would be presenting and saying, hey, okay, here's what we're thinking. This is what would be better for the long term. Here's how we implement the plan. Guys, they're doing everything on the DL in the shadows. They're just pushing things forward. We have enough information to hear what they're doing, but they're not bringing this to the public square for discussion in any capacity. They are looking to wreak havoc on civilization. This is real. So you have to ask yourself, why on earth? Can you hear that dog barking? I got an Amazon delivery. I shouldn't have done it. I knew I did same-day delivery because I knew phone charger. So if you hear that barking, you'll stop in a second. There's nothing I can do to stop it at this time. Real quick, I have a question from Sean Carter. Why are archaeological sites always assumed to be temples? It's annoying. People seem to think ancients had no other use for building. I couldn't agree more, Sean, especially when we visited Egypt. Everything's a temple. Everything. Look at Petra. Oh, this is the temple of this. Guys, it's because these archaeologists and anthropologists, they don't have any imagination. I'm not saying there was no temples, but it's like, I made this joke on X recently. I'm like, scientists have said that if humans disappeared off the face of the earth today, that probably the last remaining structure would be the Hoover Dam in Nevada. And its concrete would begin to curate in approximately 10,000 years before it starts to crumble down. And I'm like, if archaeologists or humans in the distant future following another cataclysm come across the Hoover Dam, they'll probably call that a freaking temple too. They will. If you remove that water and look at how it channels water from underneath, and if you look at pictures of it, they'd probably say the same thing about that. Just ridiculous. Let's see here. Let me keep up with the chat. That's one thing I want to be able to do. I want questions that you guys have to get answered. Otherwise, I'll go on these long, soap ramps, my soapbox ramps. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, Jimmy about to get raided. Yeah. You got Homeland Security outside the front door right now saying, hey, stop talking about the WEF. Stop talking about Gobekli Tepe. All right, looks like we got a good amount of people watching. Don't forget to hit the like button. Like I just said, I'll be transferring this live stream over onto Rumble exclusively about halfway through. The link is in the description if you're watching from YouTube. Obviously, I'm trying to grow my presence on Rumble. But what I want to do here in a second is start showing you slides and showing you things that have been said by archaeologists that are going to blow your mind that they've said in response to my video. So I'm going to show you those actual clips here. But what I want to do real quick is that I do have a sponsor for this. I want to be crystal clear. If you've watched and followed my channel for years, you'll notice that I don't do sponsorships. Not till I got on board with Rumble that's something I pursued, but I've made it crystal clear that I am not going to advertise any company that I wouldn't buy myself, have to buy myself, or wouldn't recommend to friends and family. So it's something I take serious. So without further ado, let me just spend 1 minute sharing this company, which is the Wellness Company. I have let me just read what I want to say about it. We've all seen how crazy and uncertain the world has become, which is why all of us should be taking steps to be prepared, which is why I highly recommend purchasing an emergency medical kit from the Wellness Company, which will allow you to preemptively obtain prescriptions for antibiotics such as amoxicillin, hydrochloroquine, Z-Paks, Tamiflu, and even you'll get your hands on ivermectin, which can be difficult to get your hands on, as some of you may have noticed. And this is a way of doing it, a way of getting a prescription for all these meds so you can preemptively have them on hand in the event of an emergency. I'm sure we've all noticed the headlines circulating involving a potential bird flu infecting chickens and even dairy milk and cows, which is why you should purchase the Contagion Emergency Medical Kit from the Wellness Company, which, by the way, the entire kit will cost you less than most visits to the doctor. I'm sure if you've seen with your deductibles, nothing's cheap anymore. Kits are only available in the USA. However, everyone that can obtain one should have at least one of these kits in their household. If we find ourselves in an emergency situation, even a toothache or a minor infection could become fatal, which is why preemptively having antibiotics on hand could literally save the life of yourself or a loved one. So head to www.twc.health/brightinsight and use promo code Bright Insight today to receive $30 off plus free shipping. The link is in the description of this video and the pinned comment down below. Guys, I can't recommend this company enough. You should absolutely be prepping. It's something I take very serious, and you don't know what the world, guys, times are going to get crazy. I think something's coming later this year. Yes, I am a prepper. Yes, I am a conspiracy theorist. Yes, I am a doomsday guy. But this is an intelligent thing to have. So I highly recommend you check them out. So that being said, let me now share some of these slides with you to show you what the archaeologists have said about Gobekli Tepe, and I guarantee you some of this stuff is going to blow your mind. So let me just do a quick share screen. Okay, let me see if you guys can see this. Is it showing my PowerPoint? Hold on one second here. Half a second. This is why I need to get an assistant. Can you see this? Can you see these slides? Let me see here. I don't think it's showing on your guys' end. Let me just stop and I'll just read it to you on my own. Show must go on. I can't tell if it was showing you guys. Oh, you said yes, it was showing? Someone let me know in the comments real quick. Could you see that PowerPoint presentation for a second there? Real quick, we got a awesome super chat from Aporv Varshni. Forgive me if I'm saying that wrong. I'm sure I am. Your theories are interesting. If nothing else, questioning the authority is always good. Would love to see your video on the complete alternative version of historic events. You bet. And actually, that reminds me. Okay, people are saying yes. So I'll go back to my PowerPoint slides. But let me just say, I'm going to tell you what my next video is going to be on. It'll be up the week after next, the last week of June. You may have saw the debate with Graham Hancock and Dr. Flint Dibble on Joe Rogan several weeks ago now. And I was going to make a response video and I held off for a number of reasons. I went back and forth. I'm like, should I make this video? Should I not? And I am going to do it because more than anything, the archaeological community is calling it a win for Flint Dibble. And they're literally saying that, see, Graham Hancock presented no information or evidence, I should say, of a lost ancient civilization. First of all, that conversation, because of Flint, I'm not going to talk crap about him, but guys, to have a good, engaging, entertaining debate, you need a good dance partner. And Flint wasn't the guy. Graham did the best he could, but you should also know that Flint had been incredibly vicious towards him and even myself. If you follow X, you would know, or follow us on X, you would see it. And so Graham went in there with, he wanted to hold him to an account. When someone calls you a Nazi, a racist, a white supremacist, that's someone like me and someone like Graham. We do share that in common, which is that when people viciously and unjustly attack us, I want to hold them to account. So you got to keep in mind that there was more behind the scenes involving that Graham had been incredibly hurt, that, his family saw his reputation tarnished with all these headlines, and Flint was part of that. So that being said, what my video is going to be on is sharing all the other line items of evidence that show that, yes, there was a lost civilization. The true history of human civilization dates back far older and was far more advanced than we were taught in school. And I'm going to lay it out. I'm going to blast it out. The undeniable evidence that shows that the mystery of lost ancient civilizations is real. So look forward to that. So that comment made me think of it. All right, so let me go back to sharing this screen. All right, here. Boom. You guys are saying that you can see it. So first of all, let me correct myself. Like I said a moment ago with this headline, at the moment when I'm literally reading a script, giving the video, and I say that that they're saving it for future generations. Well, people looked up this article and said, "Oh, this is just quoting Klaus Schmidt's wife saying that we need to preserve the site. This has nothing to do with pushing back excavations." Okay, here's what I should have shown. This article by the Daily Saba from July of 2018, and I don't know if you guys can see this, but I'll read it to you. Harran University Department of Archaeology and Chairman of Sanalfa Cultural Assets Conservation Regional Committee, Dr. Mehmet Anal. He went on to, I'm just going to read what he said, talking about striving to transfer this heritage to future generations. And then he explained that excavations have been going on for about a quarter of a century. And this is several years ago. So we're at about a third of a century now. But he said, considering the excavation, they are expected to continue for another 150 years. And as I outlined in my video, and I showed in great detail, let me show you guys these photos. They quite literally built infrastructure on top of buried ruins. Can you see this? Let me double check one more time. I don't want to waste anybody's time. Can you see this video? Yeah. Guys, look. They built on top of it, okay? This is just one small area, as we know. Let me see here. I removed some of the slides from this presentation. But like, yeah, they built on top of it. They're basically, the infrastructure of this roofing system is stabbing into ruins itself. And if you look at the area around the whole area, or the whole site, excuse me, like they built roads of asphalt on top of it that are literally on top of ancient ruins. And so the reality is that this is proof in itself that they're pushing back excavations. Here's another photo just to paint you guys a picture, And so once I start looking at these orchards of trees, literally right at the border of the excavation site itself, that's what got me wondering. I'm like, are they really, is it covering it or not? And so let me scroll to the top to show you what these people had said. Okay, hold on a second here. Okay, so this is the doctor that confirmed, Dr. Oliver Dietrich, and I'm not picking on him. He's a wonderful guy. He got really defensive at me, but I'm like, hey, this isn't directed at him. He's not the one that planted the trees. But I asked him, I said, the question still stands. Were any of these trees planted over any buried ruins at Gobekli Tepe? Yes. And then he went on to say that the roots are preventing erosion, thus, in fact, protecting archaeology. So let me be clear here. And I'm not disagreeing. Okay, if the ruins are safely underground, okay, then yeah, they're nice and protected down on there, aren't they? But they've been there for the last 11,600 years already. And let's be real, tree roots are notorious for destroying things. Whenever trees are planted in any municipality, they have to be careful on whether they're the type of roots that go deep or go horizontal, because they'll destroy various infrastructure, roads, sidewalks, they'll penetrate basements, they'll destroy piping, electrical, underground electrical systems. Now, he made it clear that the rubble is protecting the site, but like, look, the bottom line is that the trees themselves show you that they are not going to excavate this site anytime soon. Here's a before and after. The photo on the left was taken in 2004. However, since I made the video, I found this lovely photo, an aerial view of Gobekli Tepe before excavation work started. And again, excavation work started in 1995. If you were to zoom in, and I'm not able to do it right here, there's only one tree in the midst of that. This is a barren wasteland of desert. This is not a fertile area for planting orchards. Sure, you can grow orchards there, but why would you do this? And so what I learned is that the trees started begun to be buried from 2006 to 2010. So to be clear, they planted 4 orchards of trees on top of known ruins as established through ground penetrating radar after excavations began. The significance of that cannot be overstated. You can see 1, 2, 3, and I have another shot. I'll have to look for it. That shows a 4th set of orchards. So, like, in other words, let me just go here and do a screen stop. Let me just remove this so you can see me. Yeah, my eyes are bleeding from lack of tech. Read the chat. Let me see here. Let me see if I screwed this up. Half a second, guys. You got to bear with me. All right. People are trolling my live stream on Rumble, but I just muted them. Jimmy, read the chat. We're not seeing the slides. Okay, thank you, guys. I apologize. I'll fix that next time. Let me just get rid of this. It doesn't matter. Show goes on. So, in other words, excavations have been delayed indefinitely. They say they'll go on for another 150 years. And once the partnership involving the World Economic Forum, and to be clear, the Dogus Group is the company that did a partnership with, the Ministry of Antiquities in Turkey that goes back to 2016, That partnership was announced at the World Economic Forum Summit in Davos, Switzerland in January of 2016. And by 2018, they had already invested $15 million into the project that was going into excavations as well as the infrastructure for tourism. So the tentacles of the WEF have in fact infiltrated the site because the CEO of the Dogus Group is a longtime member of the WEF. So all you got to do is connect the dots on this. And the reality is that, it's there for all of us to see that and by the way, with that $15 million, that's only what had been allocated from 2016 to 2018. There is no shortage of money because I've seen archaeologists say, well, the funding is an issue. I'm like, hold on a second. Funding might be an issue at other archaeological sites around the world, but not at Gobekli Tepe. The Dogus Group has billions of dollars at their disposal. And the CEO, Ferret Sahank, is on the Forbes list of top billionaires in the world. There is no shortage of funding at Gobekli Tepe. They never said there was. They're not claiming there was. And you should also know, according to that partnership, the Antiquities Department of Turkey allocated, quote, sole partnership to the Dogus Group to oversee excavations at the site. It might be a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and that has some power along with it. But now seeing that the Dogus Group is the, quote, sole partner, people have to connect the dots on what that means. So what I want to do now is I'm going to transfer this to Rumble, and then I'm going to share something incredibly flagrant that a certain archaeologist shared on Twitter that will blow your mind of what he had said involving what should be done to Gobekli Tepe. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to end the stream here. The link for Rumble is in the description. All you got to do is click it. This is not hard. I know how some people are like, I'm not going anywhere. It's like, I'm not asking you to walk a mile down the street. Click the stupid link. And I want to share with this because this is incredibly important. You need to understand the mentality of these archaeologists. They're literally destroying the field of archaeology right in front of us for all to see. So that said, hang on one second here. So again, click the link for Rumble. Let's see here. Click the link for Rumble. I'm ending it on YouTube right now.